Yes, this is where they film the Italian Job.
It's an Italian car, it's tuned for Italian roads, therefore it's nice and squashy.
It's quite quiet though. That's really quiet.
This is the new Fiat 600 electric, and it's a lot like the Fiat 500 electric, but more. 100 more. Fiat claims that what we have here is a practical, rangy, spacious yet small family car with a tasty price to boot. And actually what I'm most excited about is that where so many of this car's rivals tried to pull you in with needless acceleration and flashy features, the Fiat is much more interested in two things that I am much more interested in: comfort and efficiency. Ooh.
Essentially, this is the bigger sister of the 500e, because you know how the 500e is like utterly adorable, like the cutest thing you've ever seen. This is definitely the bigger sister. The reason I say that is because, well, it's 50 centimetres longer and also has a couple of extra doors. But check out her eyes. Perfect. Eyeliner flick. She's got resting sassy face and resting big sister sassy face. You know, like one of those. That's what she looks like.
You can see all the iconic design details. We've got the circular lamps, although they're split in half like they are on the 500 electric. And as the law dictates, this is, of course, a crossover. So it's a little bit jacked up. You've got the plastic cladding around the wheels. It's got a little bit more chunk to it than its smaller sibling. It's a nice enough looking thing. It's certainly nothing groundbreaking. I actually think the most interesting thing about the way it looks is the colour, because Fiat have done away with grey. They vowed never to offer any of their new cars in grey ever again. It's all part of their endeavour to just create a more cheerful, colourful brand identity, and I like that. More orange cars, please.
We've had enough. We're not doing it anymore. We're doing big, bold colours only. No more grey. No, that's not grey. Shut up, that's not grey. That's Earth of Italy, so definitely not grey.
I think much more interesting than the design is the size of this vehicle, because you could well be looking at this thinking, oh great, another medium-sized crossover-y thing, but actually this is a small-sized crossover-y thing. It's more compact than just about any other electric family car you'd care to mention. 4.1 metres long. It's shorter than an MG4. So, dinky little car, but one that claims to offer big space inside. That's one of the big selling points of the 600. But I can show you this, for starters, a class-leading size boot at 360 litres. Look at that. That's a pretty big boot for a pretty small car. Decent sized opening, flat floor, false floor underneath it. Good to see.
We've got two big bags in there. It's all right. It's all right.
One complaint with the boot is that it sounds like a reversing rubbish truck coming at you when it closes, and then at the end it slams shut. It's quite stressful. A small gripe. What have we got then? Well, a lot of this is reminding me of the Jeep Avenger. Again, a car that will share a lot of bits with this one because they're both Stellantis products. Same platform, same bank of physical buttons here for things like climate control and demisting. This is going to make a lot of people happy. Just big, physical, easy to hit buttons. And look, there's more of them on the wheel. It's not haptic and I don't have to open a menu within a menu to change my fan speed. Nice to see. I think on the whole, this is still the preferred method of fiddling with things like your climate, isn't it? Especially when it's done in a way that doesn't necessarily clutter the cabin, and I don't feel that this does. I like this little bank of buttons to select your gear as well. That's quite a nice little touch. This I'm a fan of, this kind of slightly magnetic iPad cover-esque lid for the glove box, in which I find a bit of storage, a wireless charger, more storage, cup holders, little teeny bit of storage in there. Nice little rubbery shelf here just to put your key in, it doesn't go flying. Storage is what I'm trying to say to you. Storage.
There are some sort of cheap materials dotted about where it gets a bit scratchy, plasticky. No gloss black though, which is a really good thing. I've spotted two things where I think Fiat have maybe just forgotten about. Number one is the engine start-stop button, engine, whereas it doesn't have an engine, and this. It looks nice, but this flappy is actually just a bit irritating. Like, I'd rather just not have it. I mean, when it's sort of tucked back here, if you kind of keep it out of the way because you've got something big in there, you now can't touch any of these buttons. It's like one of those sort of cheap iPad covers that you buy. I'd rather just not have that at all. But storage is fantastic. So they've managed to access an extra 15 litres of space of storage in here, because like there is so much space inside here. There's wireless phone charging, there's so much space inside here. Does that lift up? It does, look at that. Door bins, very decent size. What's going on over here? That's a very nice size as well. Storage is cracking.
And while everything feels robust, there are too many scratchy plastics on the dash and on the doors for my liking. The infotainment system works well though.
My main issue with this interior is this screen. The software's great, it's intuitive, it's reasonably quick, but the screen's the wrong size. It's very long and thin, which means when I pull up my navigation, I can see what's to the left and right of me, but not very far in front. A couple of other numbers while I'm at it. 51 kilowatt hour usable. That's the only battery available on the 600, and that is good for 250 miles of WLTP range. 250 miles from 51 kilowatt hours of battery. Efficiency, more on that later. That's 375 miles of urban range, by the way. Seriously impressive numbers.
What's it like to drive then? Well, if you're expecting this to be a typical electric car and absolutely fly towards the horizon when you put your foot on the throttle, then you're going to be disappointed, because this is not a quick car. 0 to 62 miles an hour takes 9 seconds. And if you put this car in eco mode, which you probably will if you want to eke out that claimed 250 mile range, it feels as though you're not going anywhere at all.
It's got 154 horsepower. We'll do 0 to 62 in like 9 seconds. Perfectly adequate. You don't need it to be any faster than that.
It is quite compact. It's got a fairly short wheelbase, meaning it's really nimble. Visibility is good. The controls are so light. In normal or eco mode, you could steer it with a couple of fingers, and it's just a really easy, relaxing car to move along the road. Very quiet, very modest power as well. I think barely 150 horsepower, which is plenty for a car like this, but not so much that you accidentally stress out all your passengers when you plant your foot. So, comfy, quiet, easy to drive.
Look, this is very much designed to be a city car. It is just a nice bigger version of the 500e, except, yeah, it's just a little bit bigger, isn't it? This is comfortable in town. I mean, I haven't fully been able to put my foot down in it yet. But look at this. Look, I'm basically just driving with one finger. This is how you know it's a city car, because the steering is so light, like really light, weirdly light. You almost kind of don't feel connected to the car in a way. The driving is almost too easy.
Also, very tight turning circle on this car, which makes it really easy to squeeze down tiny ancient medieval Italian streets like these.
Oh, by the way, wonderfully efficient. So we checked the numbers once we did our lovely drive around Italy, and we were getting 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour. That's not too shabby.
And without even thinking about efficiency, without even trying to drive in an efficient manner, I've achieved, wait for it, just under 9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. What on earth is that in human language? I think that's well clear of 6 miles to the kilowatt hour. That's big efficiency. But they've also done it by just not overpowering the car. They've given it a modest little motor and removed the temptation to drive it in a silly way. I have actually been driving in eco mode this whole time because it doesn't matter. It's not a sporty car. I have no desire to drive it sporty.
It's quite quiet though. That's really quiet. There is a brand new motor inside this, which is apparently 50% quieter than its predecessor. So that's probably why it's quiet.
So then, first impressions of this new Fiat 600 electric. Well, in short, positive, I would say. I mean, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that there are still so few electric cars of this size at this price point that I'm just happy to see another one show up anytime it does. But this does appear to be a pretty impressive one.
So, what do we think? Well, I mean, they're reasonably priced. I mean, let's be honest, Fiat is a really, really popular brand in the UK. A lot of people love the 500e. So I think a lot of people will love the 600e. I think it will be a big seller because of look at how adorable it looks. The question is in terms of price, in terms of space, in terms of range, are the Chinese brands just gonna pip it to the post? Are they gonna sell as well? I don't know.
This is a very likeable car, and one that I think would be very easy to live with. I also think it'll be a strong seller here in Britain because we love Italian chic. The 600e is also the best example of a larger Fiat 500 I've seen, but there's still the feeling that the 600e's character is just a little skin deep. The 500e is the real deal.